welcome to Senior Moments Successful Aging. I'm your host, Mary Beals-Luedtka. I'm the Area Agency on Aging Director with NACOG. This show is co-produced by NACOG Area Agency on Aging and the Division of Lifelong Learning at Yavapai College. And our co-producers are Connie Vargas, and you can reach her at 928-717-7755, and Allie Bateman, and she's at toll-free, 877-521-3500. Give either one of them a call. You might have suggestions about a show you'd like to see or questions about today's show. So give either Allie or Connie a shout out on the phone and thank them for all their hard work, because I'm just sitting here doing this and they do all the hard stuff behind the camera. So thank you for your work. And also, I want to welcome another Allison and a Mary Kaye. So we have Allison Kantor.
Yes.
And Mary Kaye O'Neill. Thank you for joining us today on Senior Moment. I appreciate it. I have just met both of you, and you are esteemed artists, and you are Prescottonians, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, for 20 years.
Yeah, well, that you...
25.
Yeah. So I would say
20
that
and
you...
25.
20, 25 years. So you've been here a long time. So that's great.
I moved here when I was 12.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's what I tell people. I started this job when I was 11.
Yeah.
Right. But I do want to kind of go back a little bit. Let's start with you, Mary Kaye. You know, a little bit about your background and what brought you to Prescott.
Actually, my husband was getting ready to retire from the feds, and so I took a year leave of absence from my job, and for a year I kind of was available to travel around, and we were just exploring where we wanted. We lived outside of D.C., and we didn't want to retire there. So, long story short, 4 days in Prescott, I fell in love and decided I had to live here. And at that time, I was a career counselor and a massage therapist. And so I found a part-time job at Yavapai College teaching, and I also found an office to share to do my massage. So that's what got me here. And then I started taking classes at Yavapai College.
Was that what started you with jewelry?
In jewelry, yeah. And then later on got into the silk.
And are you wearing one of your pieces?
Yes, that's one of my jewelry pieces, yeah.
And your earrings.
And these. And these.
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
they're beautiful.
Yeah.
We're going to talk more about that.
Yeah.
And Allison.
What brought me here?
What brought you here?
Art. I was doing the art shows in the summer on the square, setting up the tent, doing that. I lived down in the valley. So I'd do the winter shows there and the summer shows up here, and was a Prescott wannabe for a long time. And finally was able to move up and stay here permanently.
Excellent.
That was in '98, so 20 years ago.
Yeah, I love it when you both sent your bios to me. They were fun to read, especially Mary Kaye. I love the provocateur of a prettier and more gentle world.
Aw.
I think that's really
Well,
nice.
I figured with that title, I could do anything.
Yeah,
So.
kind of leaves it wide open, doesn't
That's
it?
right.
I love it. So what are the things you do together? And what is your medium?
My medium primarily was oil, but then I switched into, I wanted to make a marionette, so I'll shorten this whole story because it took about 10 years of study and books and whatnot. I just wanted to make one, and I made heads that were too heavy for a marionette, and it turns out the heads became my pot heads, and those have become more popular, or maybe equally as popular as the paintings. So I'm in the pothead factory currently making Christmas potheads. Oh, was that a date?
Or whatever kind of pot.
That's one of the holidays.
That's one of the holidays. I make Halloween potheads and Christmas
July 4th potheads.
I haven't, but that's a thought.
That's an idea,
that's
right?
Coming. Yeah, I do custom ones, and I do portrait potheads of specific people with pictures provided by the customer, and those are quite a bit more expensive than just the random out of my brain ones, but they're becoming more and more popular. I'm getting lots of portrait pothead commissions.
So where do you work out of normally in Prescott?
Oh, downtown on McCormick Street. There's a big old metal bird out front that says Random Art, and the only time I'm open, however, is for the art walk, which brings us to the art walk.
Which brings us to the art walk.
That's the only time I'm officially open. The rest of the time it's by appointment or wander in, or I might be in there and I might remember to turn the open sign on, but the only time you can count on is the fourth Friday, and that's been, I don't know, 9 years of that.
9 years. What about you? Do you have a studio in particular, or do you just do the art work?
I actually have a studio in my home, and so I have a jeweler's bench, and then I have tables where I do my silk painting and use the garage for my larger pieces of wearables. But I show at 2 galleries in town, the Tiz Gallery and Krieger's, which is
So
downtown.
what is silk painting?
Silk painting, just
Ta-da.
happen to have, is you start with white silk,
Here, I'll help.
and it's very much like watercolor painting. So you have to, if you want something
Just kidding.
exact,
Yes, please.
the colors go. Colors go.
Beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
And so that's done with just dyes. And so, and then this is done
Exhibit B.
with another technique called shibori, which is some of our older listeners will remember tie-dye. It's very similar to tie-dye.
Okay, I was going to say, it looks like tie-dye.
But an older art is called shibori that comes from Japan, that's thousands of years old. And it's basically tying up the silk in a certain way, or clipping it, or doing all kinds of things, and then putting dyes on it, and then you untie it, and the white is where it was crunched and the dye couldn't get there. So
They're beautiful. So they were just a piece of white.
piece of white, right? And so I make a lot of scarves, and then I have jackets and tunics and all kinds of wearables. But silk is wonderful because it's warm, but it's also light, so you can scrunch it up and put it in your purse, but have an extra cover up for a cold restaurant that we often have to deal with.
Yeah,
So,
layer, layer, layer. That's what we
Right.
do around here, right? You never know.
Exactly.
If you don't like the weather, wait a couple seconds.
right.
So, so you're in the gallery. Sometimes you are, sometimes you're not, and that's kind of nice. I mean,
Yeah, it's a gallery / studio at my
Uh-huh.
location, and I have shown in other places. Oftentimes, Gato Azul will have my work there, but for me, it's just way handier to have it where I am
well,
and
yeah.
not move it around too much.
That's kind of the ideal life, isn't it? So
Yes.
you can work at your own pace.
Well, and also
Yeah.
it's not small and lightweight. It's
Portable.
big and heavy frames, and the potheads though, those are small.
Let's bring
You
these
want to
guys
bring
up
the
here.
kids
I
up?
want to bring the kids
Hey,
up here.
here's the kids.
Oh
And,
my gosh.
going along with the area on aging, this is George Global, I call him, because he has the globe. But he is a takeoff on George Gobel, who was a comedian years and years ago. You have to be a certain age to know that. This is Gabriel, and here's Carol. She's a caroler, and this is Monsoon. Most of them have a pot on their head, and the thought is they should sit in a plant tucked so that you don't immediately see them, but obviously for my purposes they have to be shown.
Oh my gosh.
But I like the idea of them being a surprise, and that's how they came to be. Because I was tucking these heads that I was working on in a plant to protect them because they're fragile. And my husband had said, you need to just make heads. You make incredible heads. And I said, well, that's crazy. Nobody's, what are you going to do with those heads? And then a son-in-law visited and said, what is in that plant? Because there were a few heads. And I said, well, we could call them pot heads. And that was
Boom.
That was 6 years ago, and I'm
Yeah.
probably at about 400 and some potheads now that have gone out. I do package them in a gift package. They're in a corsage box.
Oh.
Yeah. But none of them are very serious. They're all pretty much tongue-in-cheek. They're for fun.
Which is, we got to have fun, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, and
gotta
they make
have
good
fun.
gift items because, like jewelry and silk scarves, they can be
Beautiful
wall
gift.
art. Not so much. People don't generally buy a big painting for
No.
someone as a gift because then they're forced to hang it. Every time Aunt Tilly comes over, you got to put the thing out on. But these are good gifts because they can tuck them away.
Tuck them away in the little plant.
Yeah,
Or like me, I have a small house, so I don't have enough
that's
wall
true.
space.
That's
for
true
anything.
too.
But you have some plants.
I
bet.
love my plants. I
Yeah.
love
Yeah,
my plants.
and even if you don't, some of my clients who've sent me pictures back of where it is in their home, one of the gals puts hers in marbles, the glass
Yeah.
with just the marble, because she's not a plant person, so they don't have to be in there. She sent me a picture, I do pet potheads, she sent me a picture of her dog meeting his pothead, and I thought a dog would be influenced by smell maybe more than anything. This dog was mesmerized by the pothead that looked just like him, and he was sitting on the floor in her photograph that she sent me, just staring at himself.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, they're real enough to fool a dog.
Yeah.
How cute. So how did you two meet?
Art walk, I think. Well, no, it was the studio tour when you came
Oh,
in.
that's right.
In my old studio.
And she had a
Community
a
painting.
community painting, and so a friend of mine, she invited us to pick up a paintbrush
And just paint.
and just paint. And so we were in
And
the
they
Courier.
were in the newspaper,
We were-
yeah.
yeah.
I
that
still
was-
have the picture, and that was from a good 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've known each other for a while.
And we're both on the art walk now.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm the secretary, and she's the
Chief.
Chief.
I'm the chief. I'm the grand poobah.
You're the
I'm
cram.
yeah.
Oh.
And only because no one else really wants that job. No.
How often do we hear that though?
Yeah,
You know,
right.
it's the busy one though that usually.
true.
You know.
It's always somebody who's doing a lot that does more.
that wants to step up. Well, I love your logo. I think this is super cool, and we're going to have them show this. You said that you have this on a lot of your publicity.
Well, the flags that you see out in front of every
Each-
gallery or participating member has that exact same color scheme with the big
Nice.
4. Hopefully, you know, that'll resonate and start to be imprinted in people's brains.
And there's a new service in town called Ride Prescott that kind of takes people around. It's a little motorized carriage. And we're going to have the flag on Fourth Friday on the back of that. And it's free rides. So they'll take you from one gallery to another gallery.
Yeah.
How fun
so
is
if
that?
someone parks their car, let's say at this end of Montezuma and doesn't want to go clear to where I am, they can just catch this ride and go for free until 8. I think they run
Yep, 5
from
to
5
8.
to 8.
So it runs
And
from 5 to 8. So what month do you start in the year?
We're all year.
But
Oh, you do year
But
round?
April is the new brochure
Yeah.
comes out, and that's
Okay.
and the rides can't they can't operate in December and January and February because it's
Right.
not
But
safe. It's not
we're
safe.
last month was our first month with the ride, so I don't think people are aware yet. We're hoping to pick up that
Yeah, I
awareness.
didn't know about it.
Yeah.
No, it
just
just started.
Okay.
And then we'll try it again this month, and then unfortunately we do have to lay out during the colder months. But then hopefully again in March we'll start back up again. We've tinkered with, is it March? You know, depends on the weather. And like you said, it
Well, you
changes.
never know.
Yeah.
You never know about it. Sometimes we have a snowstorm in April. So
I think it's a really
That's
good
true.
service.
I
And it
remember
could be
that.
a good,
back in the day, but lately, the last few Aprils, we haven't. So you just never know. But
Right.
so in April, the new brochure comes out. So where would somebody find a brochure?
At any one of the galleries.
Okay.
and
Yeah.
also in hotel rooms.
And the chamber.
Chamber, okay.
has a
That's a good place.
stack of
The
them.
brochure works actually distributes for us throughout the
Okay.
surrounding area
Yeah,
too.
there's 19 galleries that are a part of the art walk,
I'm thinking of a couple more that maybe will come on board.
right?
Oh, I'm the collections department too. You forgot.
You're the collections department?
We do pay dues to be part of this,
Okay.
and purchasing a flag is optional. But that's also, but really the expense of being a member is really low.
Just the brochure,
Yeah, the
covering
brochure
and
and-
advertising.
Yeah.
The
So,
little
but
that we
but
do.
so the gallery becomes a member,
Yes.
Right.
and then
And by their dues, we get enough funds to advertise and produce the brochure. And what
But
have
look
you.
how many folks they can bring in and
Mm-hmm.
expose their beautiful art to.
Well, and the art walk is just a wonderful way to network with other artists, and for people who just appreciate the arts, there's usually food and
Right.
refreshments and
That was
music.
my next question. Is there other goodies?
There are goodies, definitely goodies.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
So that's
Okay.
another incentive, and it's
Yeah.
nice for me and also for you because you work at home.
Mm-hmm.
For us to see other people's art. Though if you own a
I
gallery,
don't get
she
to
doesn't
see
get to go
anybody's
out.
art. No,
But I make a regular rounds to see.
I don't get to leave. I'm the one and only artist in my. I have 2 other artists who display their things at my place, but neither one of them are present at the art walk. So, for me to get out is impossible because I'm there.
So you're there just greeting everybody that comes. So there's 19 galleries, and so what did you say? 5:00 on the fourth
From 5
Friday.
to 8, roughly.
On the fourth
Some
Friday.
are the hours of each one are in the brochure.
Okay,
Some
so they do
people are.
change.
I'm open a little later depending on the
Okay.
number of people that I have in. And some people close sooner. I think there might be one that closes at 7 or some, but it's
So it
all in
varies.
there
Okay.
for the person
All
who
right.
wants.
So pick
Yeah,
up a
even the
brochure.
college is a part of the art walk. They have a gallery and
Yeah.
they're a part of the
Yeah,
art
Pike
walk.
College.
So,
official member.
one of the questions, I was thinking about is, and I think you've already answered that is, how does it help your life as an artist?
It's
Well-
Being
my
part of
only
this whole thing.
Yeah, just in art in general, not just the art walk, but just art. I think I feel so blessed to have that as a something to do. I lost my husband almost 2 years ago, and it got me through his illness, and it's gotten me through staying connected to something that is familiar. And so, I mean, that's one thing that I think more people need to take classes over at the college, because there is a wealth of opportunity. And I think everyone has a medium that they can excel in. I really do. So,
How about you? How does it make your life better as an artist being part of the art walk?
Well, like I said, it's really my only exposure, other than maybe an event like the studio tour. But the only time I'm really open my doors is the art walk. So my goal, living in Prescott, I lived in, 11 different neighborhoods. My movers could tell you. My last move was my 14th move with the same company here in Prescott.
Oh.
So I've lived in a lot of different places, but my goal, ultimate goal, and finally reached, was to get downtown so I could be part of the art walk. Because setting up the tent, first of all, physically, as you get older, there are limits to how much, and I was looking at maybe having to hire young people to take the tent out and help me set it up and stuff. So I was grinding my way downtown. I made, neighborhood by neighborhood. I was getting closer. And finally I was able to get a place on McCormick Street and developed it, and then moved across the street and built a place with my husband. And so now this is like a dream come true for me, to be able to work and invite the public into my studio at anytime I feel like it. So.
And you live right there.
Yeah, we live up over the top, just like a mom and pop store, of old. It's just like, living up over the bookstore or whatever.
Very nice.
So we live
Very
over
nice.
our business.
Well, so this might be a redundant question for you, is, how do you find that the life balance?
Well, I have my degree in art. I have my degree as an RN.
Okay.
I'm a licensed cosmetologist, and I once upon a time did real estate. So I was a little confused about my direction, but I've used all of them.
you need my services as a career counselor.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do the nursing still a little bit.
Do you?
Yeah, I can't turn loose of it. I tried. I left the hospital last February, and then someone who knows me pretty well and had worked with me a long time ago at Samaritan said, "Do you miss it?" And I went, "Yeah." So I start up with Maggie's Hospice next week. But anyway, so yeah, the nursing is actually what feeds. I mean, I don't come up with these characters all on my own. They come from experience, and a lot of it is the nursing experience. So that's been my balance all my adult life, is those two careers. Throw in a few other ones randomly, but mostly it's been those two for me forever. So I think I painted long before I went into nursing, but I didn't really get out there and try and sell my paintings and my art until just about the same time I went into nursing, So I've been a nurse 46 years and probably setting up my tent since about that time.
Wow. And what about you?
Well, I have a hard time getting into my studio because I have a lot of other interests. I go to yoga a couple times a week, and I hike, and I play tennis. And I have this dog I have to walk regularly. But I think the whole is what makes it rich. And so when I get into my studio, I really love to just play with color, play with the rocks and the metal. So, but it is the balance, I think. I don't think I could just do my art. So
I can't imagine being retired and not having. So I mean, for me, it's always been a part of my life. But if it isn't a part of somebody's life, I would encourage them to, like you said, take classes, get involved in something. Because if your main career comes to an end for whatever reason, by choice or by physical limitation or whatever, you need something to fill up that gap. Because so many older people they're lonely and they're depressed.
Yeah.
All of my patients, after a certain age, I would say 80% of them are antidepressant bound because they're not filling their life with other activity.
Yeah, and they've done a lot of work on social isolation too.
Yeah.
And it's worse than smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is. It's devastating to
Yeah.
people. And I see it, of course, in nursing for all these years. And I would never have fallen into that because I have another illness. It's called this art drive. That's my. But a lot of people don't have anything else going on. And if they worked for, the telephone company for 50 years and their camaraderie was based on that and their self-worth was based on that, if they don't have anything else to get into, and like you said, if they're suddenly widowed or their kids all move away, they don't have any purpose left. And that's really, really a big health concern.
Yeah, and purpose, I think, we've talked a lot about that on the show, is you've got to have a purpose. You've got to have a reason to get up every day.
Yeah.
Right.
And I find that some of our clients, if they don't have a purpose, they don't have a reason, and they're socially isolated, they tend to focus on
Their illnesses.
or their negatives or their
Aches and pains.
You're right. I mean,
But that's all you really have to focus on that day.
I just recently started, I can't call it work because I don't get paid, but I sit in one of my galleries, the Kriegers, because then I get they take a lower percentage of anything I sell. But I did it because I wanted to, get connected to just other people and people in the public. And so it's been interesting. The hardest thing is staying in one spot, for
That would
4
drive
hours.
me crazy.
4 hours. So I've been experimenting, and so I finally have found a couple of little things that I can work on.
I was going to say, can you work there? Because that's
a
what
good
saved
idea.
me,
So,
obviously.
but last week I had my paints, I had my silks, I forgot a brush, so I have to get a spot where I can leave
getting in the
things
groove
there.
here, yeah.
Right, so,
have a little cubby hole there after a while,
right, yeah.
and then you
so,
can do that. But that's
but
fun.
that's been interesting just to experiment with, doing something different.
Well, yeah,
So,
and that's
squeezing
also
it in.
stretching beyond your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because also when you get in that little box, it's very comfortable, but it's also very mundane sometimes.
Right.
And I don't. How can art ever be mundane?
It can be.
I can't imagine.
Well, if you work, like yesterday, I spent 7 hours straight doing these portrait potheads for gifts. And I left out the holiday. Did you see that? Anyway, but
Well, the hard work. It is hard work.
At
You're
the
right.
end of 7 hours, I really needed to do something different.
I guess you're right. You're right.
And it gets you get in the zone, so
Right.
to speak, and you can't pull yourself out, and you should. You need to even just physically move around because I'm
go.
like this.
Well, that makes sense. It's like practicing.
And you
for
need to
music.
talk to some
Yeah.
other people, or even if it's going over to Ross on Senior Day on Tuesday, I at least talk to the cashier, or something besides sitting in there because it is very isolated.
Yeah, that's
and maybe
true.
that's the nursing that balances that for me.
Right.
I want to go take care of the families.
Because then you've got that patient contact. Mm-hmm. And then you can do that. And I think that would be fun if you're working on something so that somebody could come and watch you.
Yeah.
They love that.
I
yeah.
would love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've done a few silk demos over at the Tiz Gallery, and I'll start on one end of the scarf, and I'll let people work on the other end and just do the same thing, which is great fun.
Yeah, I think that would be fun.
Because it is play. It's like kids, coming in and trying something, adults
that would be
like
fun.
it too.
I don't consider myself like an artist, but I think it was interesting that you said everybody has a medium.
I agree.
People ask me what my art background is, and I said, well, my sister was an art major. And then I said, I have never had a drawing class, ever. I keep thinking that one of these days I'm going to take a drawing class. But I've been creative my whole life. I always look at things creatively. And I think it is finding the right medium. Finding, whether it's music or drawing or painting or clay.
I used to teach.
Clay.
I taught down at Collins College in Phoenix, and I'm with you. I mean, I'd have 25 students in a room, and they were there to learn more commercial art. Mm-hmm. But I taught all the fine art mediums so that they had that touch with the other stuff. And most of them, there is a way, even if maybe their drawing skills are never going to be their best shot, but they can do color, or they,
Right.
I tell people, if you put your clothes on today and you've got some ability to.
You're thinking about the colors that you're
Yeah, that's
wearing
right.
and matching your jewelry.
You have
and-
probably that creativity down there somewhere. We just have to
Yeah.
wiggle around and find it.
I like that. I feel better now. I have some
I
creativity.
do teach too here,
Yeah.
by the
Yeah.
way,
So
but
you
I
teach
only
at
do
Yavapai?
one-on-one.
Okay.
Having had the experience of big classes,
Okay.
I felt like sometimes people got intimidated by the guy next to them,
Mm-hmm.
and it stifled their own creativity. So I keep it one-on-one. I
Okay.
just do one.
So if somebody wanted to take classes from you, how do we get a
They
hold of
can
you?
call Random Art at
Okay.
928-308-7355.
Okay.
And I'll set up a time. It's $25 an hour. I don't believe in some of the prices I see for art instruction. And I provide all the supplies.
And then, you said you teach at the college some still?
I have not taught for
For
a
a
while.
while?
That was the career when I was a career counselor,
Okay.
and so but I'm not ready to teach. At some point, I may. Like you, I had somebody who really wanted to come over, and so we traded for something, and so she came over for a day, and she just had a great time. So I may move into that
You may move
arena.
into that.
Yeah.
Or even think about OSHA, lifelong learning, at Yavapai College,
Right.
where peers can do a class under, because obviously, I love all of your work. I love the potheads and the silks and the jewelry. I mean, you're obviously both very, very creative, and I really appreciate you coming today and sharing that with me and sharing that with our viewers. And that balance, I think, is so important for all of us to remember. Okay, there's a medium for us, and music could be one of them.
Right.
Having a purpose.
Going down to the theater department even.
Yeah,
We have a
yeah.
lot of stuff in Prescott
Yeah.
that is a cultural,
We're lucky.
yeah, I know. For a community our size, I think we have a lot.
We're very,
a lot
very
of
lucky.
opportunity.
So, Allison Kantor, Mary Kaye O'Neill, don't forget, they're here to talk about that fourth Friday of the month, that art walk.
That's right. Every month.
And
Every
it's
month.
all year. That's
All year
something
long.
that the townspeople don't understand.
Yeah,
Sometimes
so-
they think in the winter
Oh,
we
it's
don't do
okay.
it. Oh
Hey,
no.
Bundle
we're there
up,
by
it's
ourselves.
Prescott. Thank you for
Yeah.
joining us today on Senior Moments Successful Aging. I'm Mary Beals-Luedtka. Until next time.